Should you have life insurance on your kids? Interesting debate. Okay, I want to take a planful approach and share the perspective that I have why I have a small life insurance policy on each of my 3 kiddos. I'll explain coming up. My name is Mike Bernard. I'm the host of the Wise Money Show. I'm also one of the certified financial planners right here at Cohorn Financial Group. Make sure you hit that subscribe button, turn on notifications, and smash that thumbs up button. Life insurance is it's a financial instrument. It's a tool, okay? So if you've got a job to do, a financial job should you use a hammer or a screwdriver or a saw, right? And so you don't want to go to the hardware store and have someone sell you something you don't need. You want to say, here's the job. All right, what's the best tool for the job? And that's the best approach with any life insurance. And unfortunately for decades, it's worked the opposite, where it's often sold as opposed to solved. Financial planning removes that issue. It removes it because if you're working on all 6 areas of your financial life with your CFP and how they all fit together, then there's nothing that needs to be sold. No one's trying to talk you into anything. It's just looking at your situation and say, well, what makes sense? What are the jobs that need to be done and what are the tools available to do those jobs? Anyway, I digress. With life insurance, though, that is an area that it used to be life insurance salesmen. They're still out there, and in a way, it looks a little bit different, feels a little bit different. They're not going to knock on your door Saturday morning trying to sell you some life insurance, but that's still an industry. Now, to me, I would take a more planful approach. When it comes to life insurance on yourself, you need a needs analysis to see what are the financial risks that you're carrying. Let's quantify those and then determine what is the best way to manage those risks. Should we transfer it to an insurance company, and is the right transfer mechanism term or permanent? Or should you live with it? Are you self-insured? Did a video about that recently. When it comes to life insurance on your kids, though, there's no needs analysis that needs to be done. Why? Because you are not financially dependent on your kids. Unless you're the father of Britney Spears or Justin Bieber. I'm just kidding. I actually don't keep up with any of that stuff. But you're not financially dependent on them. You're not. Your kids are financially dependent on you. Well, if they're young enough. Gosh, if they're 18, they're older, they shouldn't be anymore. But kick them out of the house. But that's why you need life insurance on you, so that as you're taking care of and financially covering those dependents, if your ability to earn an income goes away because you pass away, then there's life insurance there to help out. But with kids, that need is not there. You are not financially dependent upon your kids. So, end of the story, right? Well, before I had kids, that was the end of the story. I looked at it just pragmatically, unemotionally, and said, yeah, it's emotionally just the worst experience ever. That would be just the worst. And my heart goes out to you if you've experienced that. It's just awful emotionally. Financially, maybe not so much. And that was the end of the road until I became a parent myself. Here are the 3 reasons why I have life insurance on my kids. Number 1 is, it's not financially devastating, it's emotionally devastating. But what if that emotional devastation leads me to not be able to return to work right away? What if the emotional turmoil that I go through, that you would go through, and that process means you're not as effective at your job, or you aren't able to return to work timely? So to me, having some sort of provisions. Now, is this the very first piece of insurance you would get in place? No. But to me, it would be helpful, and for me it was helpful to look and say, if I needed 3 months off, or if the grieving process meant that I needed to work part-time, it'd be unfair. It'd be unfair and unrealistic for me to look at my employer and say, I'm wrestling through this, and you've got to continue to pay me even though my contribution isn't as much. That's not how the world works, unfortunately. That's not fair. And fair is not the right term. It's not appropriate, okay? So if I needed to take a leave of absence, time off work, whatever, family leave, right, FMLA, that means your job's secure, doesn't mean you continue to get paid. And therefore, that was one of the reasons why I got a small life insurance on each of my kids. Something traumatic, something awful happened, I'd be a mess. Okay, you can probably tell from videos, I'm a family man. I love it and love being a dad. If something happened to one of them, I'd be a mess. I wouldn't be able to perform at work and therefore would expect lower earnings or a gap in earnings. Life insurance could help cover that. The second reason, and you could say you're self-insured with this now, but that is to cover final expenses. If something happened to your kids, most likely it would be sudden, and again, it'd be emotionally just awful. And the end of life costs could be significant. Now, if you've got an emergency fund that's fully funded, if you manage your debt load, you've got margin, and you're fully funding your goals, you might say self-insured. If something like this happens and we've got to write a check for $15,000 or $20,000 for funeral services or for celebration or to take the rest of the family on a big trip to try to get over this or grieve or whatever, you might be financially in a spot where you say, yeah, I can handle that. I don't need the life insurance. But to me, even though I've got a full emergency fund and we eat our own cooking, so everything I'm suggesting over the radio waves and over YouTube, I'm doing myself. This was another reason to consider getting life insurance. This is another reason why I said, yeah, it's probably worth getting life insurance just in case. Just in case, what if something happened to one of the kids at the end of a long health battle where that emergency fund was then depleted or used up because, the HSA, we had to hit our deductible, but then we had to go beyond to different medical professionals that weren't covered by our health insurance, but it was a experimental trial situation. We needed to come up with cash. I've seen it, guys. I've seen it. And so final expenses is another reason to consider carrying a small life insurance policy on your kids. And then the final reason, those first two mean a lot to me. The third one is also meaningful, but in my opinion, not as meaningful as those first two, and that is insurability. You are able to get insurance if you qualify. So how do you qualify? You gotta have the right height, the right weight, the right blood running through your veins. You gotta have good genes and family heritage, all that sort of stuff. And I'm sure you're fine. All right. But if you can still tell, I'm still dealing with some sort of poison ivy or something. Some of you that are big fans of the Wise Money Show know that I have joint issues, that I have had my share, all sorts of blessings, without a doubt. Way more blessed than I deserve, but certainly a handful of health challenges as well. Just about a year and a half ago, where I thought, I'm not going to be able to get life insurance. And our family situation has changed. We had Easton, our youngest, is like, I'm going to need some life insurance. So finally, wasn't intended to go here. But the doctors at Cleveland Clinic said, we're seeing some things here, but we can't come up conclusively with a diagnosis yet. So as of right now, we just have to monitor symptoms. There's no diagnosis. I said, thank you, Lord, and thank you, and I'm applying for life insurance because didn't know, and I was able to get it. What about your kids? What about your kids? When they're young, hopefully they haven't had a lot of health history, health issues, okay? Their height and weight is gonna be okay. So normally for kiddos, it's sort of this guaranteed insurability. Yeah, we don't need to do, just answer some questions. Have they had cancer? Blah, blah, blah. Answer about 5 or 6 questions. And most of those typically are gonna be no. And if they're no's, then you get the insurance. And you've locked in that insurability for your child. Now, is that gonna be, are you gonna buy a policy such that, well, if by the time they're married and have kids in their 20s, that you've bought a policy that they'll be able to use for the rest of their life? No way. I'm talking about locking in their insurability for maybe 50 grand or something. So they have something that if by the time that they are an adult, if they're unable to get health or life insurance, they've got something that you could give this policy to them for their loved ones to cover last, end of life care, end of life expenses, something like that. So those are the 3 reasons. Those are 3 reasons that honestly, guys, it took a while for Carrington. She's 11 now, where I was like, wow, geez, really, I'm starting to view this a little bit differently now that I'm a dad. Should we get a policy? And so we did, and then it was like clockwork. The second child came, third child came, no question, the decision's made. And so what we got, small, permanent life insurance policies, okay, that are called jumping juveniles. So very small cost and very small benefit, $25,000, and we just pay a certain amount every single year, less than $200. When they turn 18, that policy automatically increases. The price doesn't. Automatically increases 50%. And then when they turn, I believe it's 25, it increases again. So therefore, the $25,000 policy will eventually be a $50,000 policy permanently, and we're just paying a little bit every single year. But it's for those reasons. It's for those reasons. Are you a parent? Have you thought through those reasons? Have you talked to your certified financial planner? To me, I would talk to your CFP, even though these are emotional and maybe personal reasons. Talk to your CFP, because I wouldn't want to get this out of order. If you need more life insurance to protect yourself, I would make sure you address that before you address this additional need of whether you need insurance coverage on the kiddos. Your CFP will help you with that. They're not trying to sell anything. They're trying to make sure you get from where you are to reach your financial goals in the most efficient, effective, cheapest, less stress, best way possible. That's their job. Confidence, clarity, creativity. That's their job. Work with them on that. If you don't have a CFP on your team that's offering those things, doing those for you, call one of the CFPs on my team. Find us online, korhorn.com. It's Korhorn with a K. WiseMoneyShow.com. You can find us there as well. Or give us a call, 574-247-5898. All right, there you have it. Go out and take your next wise step in your financial life.